Welcome back to AI Robotics. In our next unit, we are going to continue our journey to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and review the design thinking process. Remember, the design thinking process is a way that engineers solve problems in the real world. Engineers use these steps to identify a problem, come up with ideas to solve it, and select their best idea to create. Today, we are reviewing the first step in this process, empathy. What does it mean to empathize? Think about this question. Have you ever been on a boat in the middle of the ocean? How did it make you feel? And maybe many of you have not been on a boat. But if you haven't, what do you think being seasick feels like? What do you think it feels like to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean, even if you've never done it yourself? This is empathy. Empathy is the ability to be aware of other people's feelings, even if they are not your own. You're able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You actively listen to how somebody else feels, and you discover who they are as a person. Today, you're going to practice empathizing. First, learning how we empathize with scientists who've been living on the boat in the voyage to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Then you're going to develop and ask interview questions to a partner in class. And you are going to learn about your partner's day-to-day life and empathize with the life that they live. Why is empathy important in artificial intelligence? Well, AI is a study of humanity, of what it means to be human. We are trying to give robots and software the ability to think like human beings. So in order to make computers be able to think like humans, we need to understand how humans work. So as we try to give machines more human characteristics, we have to ask ourselves, well, what characteristics makes us human? Scientists have the human characteristic of exploring the unknown. When we take time to see human characteristics in each other and understand how they affect the way different people feel and act, we call that empathy. We're going to watch a video of second graders who are interviewing managers in different companies. Think about the questions that they are asking so that they can understand the companies and the people who run them. Later, you are going to develop your own interview questions like these second graders, but you are going to interview a partner in the classroom.
Hello everyone, back with another video. This time I created a video that will be part of a series that I'm calling Empathy Work. This video will showcase projects where students are performing empathy work to gain a deep understanding of their end user, the people who they are designing for. Hope you enjoy it. Design thinkers gain a wealth of knowledge by engaging in interviews with the people they are designing for, and provides the opportunity to directly learn about what is essential to their user. Our second graders took on the role of city planners for the local community near their school. Students visited the local community to make observations, but also had the opportunity to interview with the community members. This was all set up by a parent of one of the students, the amazing Yoon Kim. Students were able to interview the manager of a Mercedes-Benz dealership, the owner of a coffee shop, a real estate agent, the owner of a construction company, and the high school students who live in the local boarding school. Here are the interview questions students asked their community members. The interview questions consisted of both specific and broad questions. For the specific questions, students were taught to ask why, to find the causes of the behavior or thinking of the community member. For example, when a student asked the real estate agent, "What do you like best about your community?" she explained that she enjoyed the location of the community. The student then asked why the location of the community is favorable. He found out that she drove to other communities for the diverse selection of food and entertainment. This insight showed the community members were seeking out other areas for things they wanted in their daily lives. The broader interview questions allowed students to gain information about the community members' lives, values, and habits. Students were able to find insightful patterns from the interview answers. By asking community members about their daily schedule, students learned that many of them work for 8 to 9 hours a day. By asking community members what their interests were, students learned that younger people enjoyed consuming media, while older people liked to spend their time doing some form of exercise like golf or hiking. The students who lived in the boarding school stated that their schedule consisted of studying in the morning, classes in the afternoon, and then more studying at home. This information helped students realize that the community needed to provide its businesses and residents with spaces for relaxation and leisure activities. In the define phase, students synthesized the information they found in their empathy work to develop a problem statement. A problem statement defines what the meaningful challenge is all about and guides students through the design thinking process to a desirable solution. The statement identifies the users, their needs, and any insights that can provide design opportunities.
Answer this question. Which actions did the students take in the empathy phase of their project? Choose every answer that applies. Now let's prepare for your own empathy interview. Like I said before, you are going to interview a student in this classroom and ask them about their day-to-day life. What kind of questions should you ask? When we prepare for interviews, we want to prepare with open-ended questions, and we want to avoid closed-ended questions. Let's start with closed-ended questions. These are simply questions that you ask where the respondent is only going to give you yes or no answers or single word answers. For example, do you like waking up in the morning? That person's just going to reply yes or no, and they don't provide a lot of details or explanation. Or, what is your favorite fast food restaurant? Raising Cane's. The problem with these closed-ended questions and just providing single word answers is that they don't give us a lot of information. They don't allow us to really understand our user because they don't explain anything. Instead, we want to ask open-ended questions that get them to think more and give us more detailed answers about how they really feel. For example, why do you prefer Raising Cane's over Chick-fil-A? This allows them to explain in more detail their feelings and their thought process. You are going to see a question that pops up, and you're going to label it an open-ended or single word answer. Now that you have the answers, notice how much more information you can get from a person when you ask them open-ended questions. For our last example, let's look at an empathy interview conducted at the New Horizon voyage. In this video, we're going to get a tour of the New Horizon, where scientists are exploring the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. They're living there for 3 weeks on the ship. As you watch this video, think about the following. What would you say about living on the boat? What would you think about living on the boat? What would you do? And what would you feel about living on the boat? This is going to be core ideas for our empathy map.
We're about to look at where I'm going to be for 3 weeks without touching land. Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to go to my cabin, which is my room. A ship's room where you live is a cabin. Sweet home. This is where I'm going to be sleeping for the next 3 weeks. There's no porthole, no window, no porthole in my bunk. Get out. This is where I'm going to be brushing my teeth every morning and every night. Let's go see if we can find the head. I wonder what's in here. It's the marine head. Check this out. The lap of luxury, I'm telling you. So this is where we're going to be sharing the marine head. We don't call it a toilet, it's the head. Running water. See, sometimes this happens, a little rust in the pipes. You gotta let it go. I'll have to check with the captain to see if we could drink that water. Got that? Let's see what's going on down below deck. So right next to fire station number 5 is the galley. And the whole purpose of this mission is to go out to the plastic vortex. And look at this. Right here we have an area that says plastic only. I really wonder how much plastic we have on this boat. Because really, we couldn't live our lives without plastic. As a matter of fact, one of the first uses for plastic was film. I'm a photographer and filmmaker, so I wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for plastic. But now we have to figure out, we have a really big plastic problem. And this expedition is all about going to figure out what's going on. Let's check out the rest of the boat. And this area is the wet room. And I think I hear Miriam, the chief scientist, talking. Let's go see if we can bother her. She's on her cell phone, I think. No rest for the weary. She's been awake for 48 hours. We don't want to bother her. Cell phone use, no more cell phone after tomorrow. We'll have no communication with the mainland, except through via satellite uplinks.
When we conduct interviews to understand and empathize with other people, we can record our findings on an empathy map. Our empathy map is split into 4 sections: what our end user says, what they do, what they think, and what they feel. What would you add to this chart for the empathy map of the New Horizon scientist? Here's an example of how we could fill out an empathy map for this video. For example, in the video, Annie Crawley says, "The marine head is the lap of luxury. I'm telling you." And she's being sarcastic, meaning she really doesn't think it's very luxurious. This is an example of something she says. Now for an example of something they think. Chelsea and the Cplex team, they think they've prepared so much. They think it's hard to wait. And they're anxious to see what we came to see, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Now in the bottom left, what is something that they do? Well, they ran the water again when they saw it was dirty. They confirmed with the camera person that it was recorded. And in the bottom right, things that they feel. Well, they might feel excited to take an adventurous trip. She could feel worried that the water from the head faucet looked rusty, but she figures that sailors do this every day, so she can too.